Awesome. Thanks, Giannis. Well, thank you everybody for having me and looking forward to today's chat. So a little bit about myself. As Giannis mentioned, my name is Nicole. I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area, have been here for the past 10 years, and also been in DC and London and Boston. And so, yeah, I have been mainly in content and cloud my entire career. I worked at Ectron, web content management company back in the day. Also worked at Google Cloud as well as Box. So looking forward to chatting about, let me share my screen. We're going to chat today about integrating AI-powered chatbots and search on your website. So cool. All right, let's go.
Yeah, great.
Just a second. There we go. Okay. So, and I'll tell you a little bit more about ai12z as we go. ai12z is a company that I'm a co-founder of. We just started in September, and so we're a new startup, but we're already talking to a lot of prospects and companies today. But with that, let's start with just AI in general. Everybody has been hearing about AI, and this is mainly generative AI because ChatGPT has just become known in the marketplace. Let's be honest. I'm sure you have all tried it out, or you may have tried a similar tool. And generative AI, probably everybody knows on this call, but as a recap, generates new content, whether that's text, audio, images, video as its primary output based on the existing data that it's been trained on. So today we're going to talk about how do you combine a large language model, and a large language model is one that's like OpenAI GPT, Amazon Bedrock, it could be Meta Llama, Claude, and more. There's Gemini, there's a lot out there. There's going to be more that come out. And so how do you combine a large language model with your organization's content to go live with a Copilot? Now, what is a Copilot? You may have heard of Copilots from Microsoft. There's also GitHub Copilot, in which it's your AI paired programmer, and definitely encourage you to try that out if you like to code. But how can, again, you use your own Copilot and make that applicable for your users? So to sum it up, a Copilot is an application that uses AI and a large language model to help you perform a complex task. Now, you can simplify this a lot more so that you can have a Q&A Copilot where you just answer your users' questions. And this is great because in the past, in order to go live with a chatbot on a company's website, it would take 6 to 12 months to build. It involves a lot of decision tree logic, and you have to come up with all of the questions that users would ask and then the synonyms that are related to that. So it's a lot of time to build. And now with AI involved, you can go live with a Copilot in less than a day. So you can also use a Copilot to perform, as this mentions, more complex tasks. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So with that, there's different applications for Copilots. We have Copilots for websites and then Copilots that are used internally. So you can imagine that Copilots can be like very similar to when I was working back at Ectron. We believed that every company would have a website. And now we truly believe that every company will have a Copilot, maybe multiple Copilots. So just if you go to an education site, for instance, a potential Copilot for an EDU site would be when a student comes to their internal EDU site, or just, I went to George Washington University, so gwu.edu, you're a student and you're like, hey, and you're talking to the Copilot, imagine it as an advanced chatbot, and you ask it, like, I need help selecting my majors. I'm an electrical engineering major, and it can go then to, it can connect to the student CRM and say, oh, okay, we know that you're a double E major. Nicole is in her junior year, and she wants to, graduate on time within 4 years in the US. And so let me help her pick her course selection. So it can understand I've taken such classes already. These are the ones that I need to graduate. And the Copilot can then help me figure out like my class schedule. It can then interlink with the class online scheduling tool and put together a whole class schedule for me for the next semester. It can also balance like between hard classes as well as easy classes, so that as a guidance counselor would give me advice, they're going to say, hey, you know, you shouldn't take all your advanced classes in one semester. So that's an example of an education copilot. We'll do two more. So media and entertainment. Let's say I'm on like AMC Theater's website and I want to buy tickets for a movie. And so it knows that, okay, you like action movies. You usually attend movies on Fridays at 6 p.m. I can go to the site and then it knows who I am. It knows what theater I go to. It knows my personal preferences. It knows what I've watched already. So it can then recommend to me, hey, would you like these 2 tickets for Friday? There's a new movie. You haven't seen it yet. It's action. And then I can say yes, and then it can purchase the tickets right away, which is amazing. It makes my life so much easier, and it saves time when I'm on that company or that organization's website. And then lastly, this example that we have on the left side is, let's say this woman, Laura, she ordered a blue sweater from gap.com and she received a green one instead. And then so she can go to gap.com or to the app, and she can say that she did this and there is an error. The Copilot can then respond saying that, hey, attached is a prepaid return label. And then the blue sweater will be sent to you via express shipping. So as you can imagine, just like with Copilots being now on websites, it can really enhance the user experience. They can, you can make recommendations, you can help them with purchases, you can help them with returns, and ultimately they're going to keep coming back to your site. Now, there's also Copilots for internal teams. So the best example of this is customer support, where I'm sure you've been on websites before, or you've called an airline, for instance, and you just are on the call for like an hour. I have experienced that too many times, but a Copilot can then help with that scenario in which it answers all the users' questions on products and services. It pretty much is filling in for the live agent representative. Now, that being said, you can always do live agent escalation if you need to talk to somebody. Copilots for sales enablement. This example here is, can you help me prepare for my sales call? There's HR, like if you are at a big company with HR and IT and you need help in terms of like, hey, what's the HR policy? Do I have this like right number of vacation days? Can you help me like set up this app? So it can answer a lot of questions, but also really start to automate tasks. And ultimately what you're enabling your team is that you're enabling your team to have more time for strategic work as well as creative work, so that they're not burdened with something that can ultimately be automated by AI. So we're going to dive into a Copilot Q&A, and what does that look like in the back end? Now, this is retrieval augmented generation. Some of you may have heard of that before, and this is where you're not just depending on the large language model to answer the question. You're actually introducing like a content store. So imagine having a CMS connector with all the different CMSs out there, and then there's a website scraper, so it can scrape your website with all of your website's content. We read like robot docs text files, JSON files. We can also upload like CSV files. So imagine you're uploading into the system all the documents that are marketing materials, sales enablement materials, creating your own Q&A pairs, and more. So all of your organization's content that all of your content marketers have created will then go and get loaded into the vector database. Now, this content gets turned into vectors, also known as numbers, And it allows the system to be able to understand those and compare them. So think of really vectors representing meaning of the content that you've ingested, so that when a user then asks a question, that question gets turned into content embeddings, also known as vectors. It goes into the vector database, and that vector looks and sees what is the most relevant content in order to answer the question. So again, you're no longer just relying on the large language model, you're leveraging all of the content that your organization has created. And it's going to pull, let's say, 25 pieces of content. It is then going to go through a re-ranking algorithm. And the re-ranking algorithm will pull like the top 3 to 4 most applicable documents to answer that user's question. And then it is going to go through a prompt template and a large language model, such as these that we're showing here. And it's used by that generative model to then create like a coherent answer to answer the user's question. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what does an advanced Copilot look like. So this goes beyond just a RAG system, and this is where you can really, like similar to the examples on the previous slide with education, media, and entertainment, and all of that, and retail. With an advanced Copilot, it's starting to automate workflows so that your site visitors and internal users can have so much of a better experience, and it's faster as well. So the question or the phrase, we'll use like the retail example. Hey, I'm on Nike.com and I want to return a pair of shoes that I bought 15 days ago. So I'm going to tell the Nike.com Copilot, hey, I want to return my shoes. And think of the large language model as an intelligent brain where it then says, okay, what do I need to do to solve this problem? And there may be multiple steps involved. So it creates an execution plan. And then it's going to call a plugin. It's going to call the CRM connector. And it's going to say, oh, Nicole purchased these red shoes 15 days ago. And then it's going to then go back in and is there another step in the plan? And the Copilot's going to be, yep, there's another step in the plan. There's a rule. What is the return policy? And the return policy is that the shoes or any item on Nike.com has to be returned within 30 days. So do these shoes meet that? And it can say, yes, it does. It's returnable because she has 15 more days left. And then it creates an answer for me. So we're really, calling all these plugins in order to answer the user's question or help them with that solution. One thing that I didn't talk about is the context engine and AI conversational history. So imagine that you come to a chatbot, and usually when you ask your questions, you have to always write out as if they hadn't heard the previous question. But let's say we're on our site, ai12z, and somebody comes and asks the question, who is Nicole Rogers? And it can be like Nicole Rogers does marketing and operations at ai12z. And then the next question that the person can ask is, where does she go to school? And then it can say the George Washington University. So you can actually build out these copilots in which we didn't say Nicole, where does Nicole go to school? We said, where does she? And it will know that she is referring to Nicole. So you can imagine, this is just like the most simplest example, but you can build out copilots that have that conversational history. So there can be a whole series of questions prior to it. So with that, you're able to go live with some copilots on your site, as well as AI-powered search. We're going to dive into the AI-powered search, and I will demo that. Anybody have questions when I get my screen ready?
Good. I saw a little bit in the meeting chat. RAG is my current topic. And Seb also said that tell us they have a bunch of purpose-specific copilots for different topics instead of one general purpose one, which gives much better results. So far, so good, Nicole.
Great. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to, this is just a very short demo. This is actually somebody who we're talking to today. So Byram Healthcare, they have their current website, and I am going to ask the question, which diabetes monitors have real-time glucose alarms? I'm going to copy that so I have that. And then I'm going to search here. And it comes up with 438 results. That is a lot. Now, it could be in, the result could be in this. It actually isn't. It's like a long article, so I have to search in the article itself. And you can tell that this really becomes like its own research project. But some sites actually have really good search. But for a lot of sites, they have search where you have to then go and research to find what the answer to the question is. So I'm going to show you what does it look like if you have AI-powered search. I'm going to ask that same question. I just copied and pasted it. You can see that it's filtering results. And then when I ask AI, it's going to come up with an answer, and it's going to like look at all your content. And here's the answer. The Freestyle Libre 2 Plus sensor and the 2 reader are diabetes monitors that have real-time glucose alarms. So this answers my question. And again, this is just leveraging the power of AI combined with all of, in this case, Byram Healthcare's website content. So you can thumbs up and thumbs down, and this helps in the future for content authors to figure out what answers were thumbs down, which is really important. This can also, like, just doing this whole exercise can help with your SEO, because if somebody is coming to your website asking a question and they're not getting an answer that you like, you can then create the appropriate question and answer pair. So I'm going to ask another follow-up, and that's going to be, what memory does it have? And you'll notice with this, it's saying, I asked the question, what memory does it? So I didn't have to repeat Freestyle Libre 2 Plus sensor or the 2 reader. And then it answers my question right here, which is great. So we'll ask a different question, like, you take Anthem insurance. And as you can tell here, I'm asking questions, and just because we're using like ChatGPT a lot, people are now getting used to asking questions versus relying on keyword search. So you can, like the importance of semantic search is now key these days. So again, this answers that question. And then my last example, what I want to do here is ask in a different language. So this is in French, and we're going to translate that. And the question is, tell me about diabetes and exercise. And you can tell that it answers the question. And what's important here is, because of the power of AI, it can then basically ingest all your content in English. But if somebody asks a question in a different language, it will then answer that question. And we didn't have to ingest any content in French, but it was still able to answer in French. Do one more. So I just asked the question, what's the capital of France? Now, any large language model, as you would expect, would know that answer. And so a lot of people nowadays are afraid of hallucinations. Like, what if I ask a question and it starts to hallucinate? But with this technology, you can really, in the prompt, tell it, hey, you're only answering Byram Healthcare's content and anything else not related. So it doesn't answer what's the capital of France. Anything that's not related to Byram's healthcare content, you won't answer, which is actually great too, because imagine being on a competitor's, like you're on your site, and then if a chatbot talks about your competitor, that would be so bad. So being able to like tell it what to do is super important. So with that, that is all I have. I promised Giannis that I only go for 20 minutes and save time for some Q&A. But yeah.
So perhaps I can start with the first question, and then others can raise their hand or write in the chat. And perhaps for the sake of everybody, I'm really happy you did this, Nicole. Great combo with slides and demo. Everybody who knows me knows that I love live demos. But could you just perhaps zoom out and summarize what is it ai12z provides?
Yeah, sure. So we provide AI-powered chatbots, digital assistant copilots, as well as AI-powered search. So very similar to what I just showed you. This is actually our technology, the AI-powered search, but you can imagine that being in a chatbot in a website. And again, like in the past, you used to be able to like build these chatbots and they took forever. Now with our technology, you can go live with them in less than a day. And there's 4 of us at ai12z who used to work at Ectron, and we were very much focused on websites. Actually, I see Derek on this call too, and I think, so anyway, so yeah, so we used to work at Ectron, and we really went across all industries because every industry needed a website, and you can customize it accordingly. So similar to what we're doing at ai12z, we're going to be building out these copilots across all industries, and we're going to customize them. We're working individually with clients right now in terms of like what are their needs, and we're also working a lot with interactive agencies. So we very much have a partner first model, and so working with agencies to help them arm their clients with these copilots.
That's great. Thank you, Nicole. So the tradition here is that when nobody has raised their hand, I just randomly give the microphone to a person that I select. So I'm going to select you, Seb, because you kind of did a recent call on the tech side of AI, and you already also wrote in the comment field. What's your initial reflections on this? What you've just seen?
Sure. Yeah, I think this looks great. I think as I sort of mentioned in the chat, the model that we've explored with. So just a really quick intro. I work for TELUS. We're a telecommunication company up in Canada. We're fairly invested internally in copilots and AI as well. So very excited to see sort of companies out there doing this commercialized. I think it's huge value. And I think most companies are really starting to see that. I did have one question that I'm really curious about. When you had your sort of advanced copilot slide and you talked about your copilot being able to plug into workflows and to plugins and to trigger actual actions. That's super interesting, because then we're starting to get into like not just conversational but actual triggering actions. And you had that example of the store saying, hey, I've ordered the correct one for you and it's on its way. What maybe can you talk a little bit more about that and how that works? Like for plugins, like can customers bring their own plugins, or do you have like a partner program there?
Yeah, so this is Bill Rogers, ai12z CEO. So when it comes to the concept of the plugins, we actually have what they call a visual workflow engine. So when you look at the LLM, it says, we need to go call the CRM. And so the workflow is then going to show you visually, it'll say, I'm going to connect to Salesforce with the query information that came from the LLM. It gets the results. Then in the workflow, there'll be another LLM that analyzes the data where it can go process those. So this concept, so we're going to have a library of these what they call nodes that are in that drag and drop workflow engine that you have access to, and we'll have a plugin connector builder where you can go build something and add it to your library so that you can use it within your Copilot.
That's super cool. Thank you.
Oh, one thing I didn't, just a little bit add on, since we're on the screen, is with the large language model too, is we're working with any large language model that a customer wants. Some people will be like, hey, we only want this large language model, so it can be a bring your own as well.
Okay, so if we have our own model, for example, in Azure, you could plug into that. We don't have to use a public or something. That's great.
That's
awesome.
correct. Yeah, we obviously it's less expensive for people to use the out of the box LLM, but it's getting cheaper and cheaper to actually train the LLM for your particular model. So we give the capability of having a combination of both. And you can imagine in the workflow, you have one LLM that you've trained to do some specific task, but then another task that you're executing, you want a completely different LLM that you fine-tune for that particular task.
Great. And now you can all thank John because you're all off the hook. John Austin asked a question about how it handles personalization. Can it leverage a CDP? Does it collect data on customers that can be added back to a CDP? I'm just going to throw it in there between Nicole, Bill, Rob.
Yeah. So that what happens is that in the ai12z, the input can already take, like the search control can already take personalized information. So for example, you can then go past information of like what language is the browser in, what's the URL, what's the title of the document that we're on. You can programmatically tell it, here's some other information. We have a pre-LLM before we even call the vector database, and that's because we can use this personalization data to help the vector database get the right documents to go past to the LLM. And then we can pass all of that context information over to the LLM. So that also means that, like, if we were working with an Optimizely and we were using their particular personalization engine, we can take that data, knowing about the context of this user, and help influence the LLM answer the question.
All right. John, is that okay?
Sorry, I was muted there, but yeah, that makes sense. Nice to see you again, Bill. Been a long time.
Hi, John.
So we're coming up at the last minute here. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Bill. Really appreciate it. We do have time for an additional comment, reflection from your side. I don't know, perhaps, Nicole, you can wrap it up. We met in Sacramento 4 or 5 months ago, and I saw Bill a month earlier. Any major kind of developments at AI12z that you want to share?
I would say that, yeah, stay tuned. We announced, gosh, was it V1, I think 2 months ago, and there's more coming out this summer, especially in the fall. And yeah, we're really excited for the market because you know, a lot of people have been talking about like AI, but we're also finding that a lot of organizations don't know where to start. And so we're just at the beginning, we're just getting started, and there's something big here. And, you know, excited to see like what so many organizations can do in the future with this type of technology, what you all are doing with this type of technology. And I think it's going to just be a game changer for, you know, how do we interact online and with these co-pilots. So, like, again, there are these digital assistants that can be transformative and make our lives easier. So yeah, excited to see what's to come and to be a part of that movement, to be honest, like everybody on this call.
What a great way to wrap it up. Thank you very much, Bill and Nicole. Much appreciated. I sense the excitement through the screen here.